Hello everyone, welcome to Keystone Academia. Today we will be doing a session for you where we will include activity-based costing, and in the end of the session we will review one case study in order to have a better understanding how to read a question, understand it, and make a relevant answer to gain successfully passing marks. Working with chapter number 3, activity-based costing. All right. So we live in a modern production environment, right? So it is different from the traditional one. So let's see what is the difference between modern environment and traditional environment. Now, modern producers have changed the way of their producing. So they have more machinery and computerized manufacturing systems, smaller batch sizes, and less use of direct labor. Although, comparatively to traditional costing or traditional environment, there used to be uh, manual labor manufacturing systems, larger batch sizes, and larger use of direct labor. This has impact on production cost as there are more indirect overheads and less direct labor costs. So you will see these two criterias are the most important in the ABC. How these two, more indirect overheads and less direct labor cost, are the two main things that is required to apply ABC. This means that the traditional method of costing produce standard costs that are less useful due to the inaccurate product cost. The larger cost of production is indirect overheads, but these are characterized together in one figure that lacks detail and is not useful to management. Because management does not know what the components are of the largest production cost, they cannot implement the proper cost of control. As we will see in traditional method of costing, most of the, whether it is direct or indirect cost, it has been allocated between products on the basis of units. But ABC says different. The costs are often allocated between products on basis of direct labor hours, either units or labor hours, despite the fact that labor hour is becoming smaller production of product cost now and does not fairly reflect the relationship between products and indirect overheads. Because the costs are inappropriately or inaccurately shared between the products, it means that the product total production cost can be wrong, which why it leads to poor pricing and production divisions. So what is ABC? ABC costing, activity-based costing, has been developed to solve these problems that traditional costing methods create in these modern environments. In order to apply ABC costing, we have to follow some steps. Firstly, activity-based costing is an alternative approach to product costing that we understood right now. It is a form of absorption costing, but rather than absorbing overheads on production volume basis or direct labor basis, we are going to allocate cost pools before absorbing them into cost drivers. So what is a cost pool? Cost pool is an activity that consumes resources and for which the overheads are identified and allocated. For each cost pool, there should be a cost driver. Okay, so what is a cost pool? We are going to collect all the cost which has been incurred for a product. So as we collected all the cost, it is going to become a pool, which is why it is known as cost pool. Okay. Cost driver. Cost driver is a unit of activity that consume the resources. As alternative definition of a cost driver is a factor influence the level of cost. Now that we have understood that we have that much amount of cost which has been incurred by this machinery or by this manufacturing unit, now we need to understand that this particular amount of cost has been influenced by which activity. So here we are going to figure out what type of activities are there and how it is influenced them and how it becomes a cost driver rate. Okay. Identifying activities and drivers. If a business decides to adopt activity based costing to measure the cost and profitability of its products or services, it must identify key activities that consume resources and cost driver for each of these activities. Now, this whole process becomes a bit assumption based because each person would assume different type of activities or cost driver rates, so it may differ from company to company what they are taking it as, and that is why there is going to be variation in cost as well. Although it would be slight, but yeah, there is that disadvantages is there. Identifying activities. The main activities that consume overhead resources differ from one type of business to another. A useful approach to identifying suitable activities within a business is to consider four different categories or activities of transition. So here we have four type of transaction. Logical transaction relates to your logistics when you are moving from one part to another. That would be your transportation costs, perhaps that is one of the example. Balancing transaction is that is concerned with the resources required for an operation. For example, buying department has to make sure that raw materials are available to meet production demands, so there is a balancing they have to maintain. Quality transaction is when you are maintaining your machinery, you are hiring people to inspect it, that comes under your quality transactions. Change transactions are the one that requires response to change in customer demand. For example, there is a design change, there is a delivery method change, there is a scheduling change, and from industry to industry that will also differ. So we have next is cost drivers. As I said, it needs to be relevant and it needs to be easy to measure. Because relevant, why? If you are not making the connection between your cost and that activity, then it is going to it would be difficult for you to relate it with the activity and pick up a cost driver. In other words, there should be a connection between the cost driver and the consumption of resources of activity. For example, if you have marketing cost, right, how you're going to make a connection with whatsoever activity you are going to generate. Maybe it could be number of orders it generated through that marketing, maybe number of potential customers. So that is how you're going to use the cost drivers. Easy to measure, it needs to be easy to measure those level of cost drivers, because if you're not able to measure it, how you are going to allocate it between the products. Okay. Transaction drivers. Here, the cost of activity is affected by the number of times a particular action is taken. For example, number of setups, number of power trips. This is something you will see more in your questions, and this is the important things that you need to understand how these are coming up and how it is relating to the your cost driver. Duration drivers is the setup cost may not be related to the number of setups so much as to setup time. So there it would be affected by that number, but uh, there it wouldn't be a number, it would be related with the hours. It would become in the duration drivers. Intensity. Now we have seen transaction, we have number of batches, number of purchases. In duration you will see more in the terms of time. And in intensity drivers you will see, rather than charging all purchase order with same cost per order, we might determine the overseas order involve more work, more apply to weightage to overseas orders to reflect the extra work. So intensity you will see less. See, transaction cost is number one, you will see 90%. Duration drivers you will see maybe half of like 10%, and intensity drivers you might not see in this operational level. How do we calculate APC? The first step is group the production overheads into activities according to how they are driven. So before explaining this, I would say that in case study question, you wouldn't have to actually calculate a cost driver rate or allocate the production cost to the products, but you should know how to calculate it or the interpretation of the cost driver rate, because that is what examiner wants you to do. They have tested you in the OT that how to calculate it, but now the time is coming where you have to explain the interpretation of what it helps you with, how it helps the company, and how it can be implemented in the company. Group production overheads is all the overheads that we have in the production. We are going to group them into activities which are relevant and uh, assuming that it was incurred from those activities. Okay, step 2 is identify cost drivers for each activities. That is what causes these activity cost to be incurred. So this is important. If you are able to understand which activity it is, then it would be easy for you to uh, tell them what cost driver rate would be relevant and easy to measure for that activity. So cost driver rate is a factor that influences the level of cost. We learned it earlier. Calculate a cost driver rate for each activity. We will see how it is calculated. Absorb the activity cost into the product. So a company would have 2 or 3 or maybe 10 products. You will have to understand how it is absorbed through those activity cost into a product. Lastly, calculate the full production cost and its profit or loss in the pricing. Let's see. We have two products, M1 and M2. Here we are given these are the your activity, your cost, and they have given you an idea what is the cost driver rate. So for setup cost, they have given the number of setups, material handling cost, number of batches, special part handling cost, special so cost driver is your number of special parts and so on. Similarly, you are going to see that how many setups are given. So here setups per batch, you will have to calculate it accordingly and then allocate these amount, this 97,600 according to those number of setups between M1 and M2. Okay, so after you have allocated all those overheads, you're going to calculate your direct cost. Direct cost is your material, labor, direct material and direct labor, and then add on all these overhead cost. Then you will have your full production cost. Similarly, how they have done for different scenario, your direct labor overheads is allocated between these two, and then total cost. Then we have taken what is the revenue generated from that product. So you will have your profit or loss. So why is ABC relevant and when it is relevant? Okay, ABC you will see is it is more time consuming and costly product, costly method to do. And why is that? Because it takes a lot of time to calculate your cost drivers, your cost, right? ABC is more expensive system to operate than traditional costing, so it should only be introduced when it is appropriate to do so. Activity-based costing could provide much more meaningful information about product cost and profits when indirect costs are highly related. So this is the criteria you can use it when ABC should be applied. So first is when indirect costs are highly related to direct cost, when meaning your indirect costs are more than your direct cost. Products or services are complex or wide in range. Products or services are tailored to customer specification. So contracts, for example, it could be used for that as well. Some products or services are sold in large number, but others are sold in small numbers. So same, there's a wide range, there's a complex, there's a customer specification. So all these criteria fall under ABC. In this situation, ABC will often result in significantly different product or service overhead cost compared to the traditional absorption costing. Difference between traditional costing and absorption ABC costing will also be depend on the makeup of the overhead cost. Overhead cost can be delivered into four different type of activities. So this is a four type of activities on unit level based upon your volume of produced, the number of units were produced. Batch level activities, the consumption of resources based upon your number of batches were produced. Batches is a group of units basically. So a machine will utilize the raw materials in terms of batches or produce in terms of batches. Product level activities is related highly to your specific product. Only upon one product or two product it will be related to, not the all of products. Facility related product or facility level activities will depend upon your product, your related to your facility line, maybe only which is being generated for particular products. Again, cost cannot be related to any way to the production or any particular product line, but on the basis of the service or basis of the department, you can say. Maybe design, so the design can be a facility level activity. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of ABC. Let's look at first your advantages. More accuracy, as we can see that when we are calculating based upon that particular product is incurring that particular cost. So we are allocating only those cost which has been used to produce that one particular product. So that will give us more accuracy rather than just allocating the cost between two products based upon their production level of activity. Better cost understanding is there, fairer allocation of cost is there, better cost control. So as we will know more about what cost is being produced by that product, so that will also help us in cost reduction. Can be used in complex situations, that is one of the relevancy we saw in ABC. Can be applied beyond production, can be used in service industries also, as I said, contract basis also. Disadvantages is you're not always relevant, as if you have more direct cost, then ABC would not be relevant there. Still need to be arbitrary cost allocation. As I said, the cost drivers you are calculating could be based upon assumptions. So there it can be arbitrary cost allocations because you are doing based upon your understanding, based upon your uh, judgment that what is relevant cost driver here. Need to choose appropriate cost drivers and activities. Same. Complex. It is complex to calculate, and non-finance background directors will not be able to understand it. So that is a disadvantage. And expensive to operate because we need to hire more technical people. We need more time. It is also time consuming. That could also be one of the disadvantage. The implications of switching to ABC. The use of ABC has potentially significant commercial implication. So in a case study, most likely it is to be asked that what will happen, or can we implement ABC or not. There you can specify what could happen if we switch to ABC. So first of all, pricing can be based on the more realistic cost data. So that is one of the advantages. The pricing decision will be improved because the price will be based upon more accurate cost data. Then you can explain that why is it a accurate cost data. Okay. Next is sales strategy can be more soundly based. That is also again one of the good advantage. More realistic product cost as a result of the use of ABC may enable sales staff to target customers that appeared unprofitable using absorption costing but may be profitable under ABC. Stop targeting customers or market segments that are now shown to offer low or negative sales margin. So from ABC costing, we can also understand which product is more profitable and which could vary between your traditional costing and ABC costing. As ABC costing is giving you a different set of pricing, it will give you a different set of profit as well, profit or loss. So there you will be able to understand whether that product is actually in loss or in profit. So when you will see that there is a drastic change, your priority will also change there. Decision making can be improved. Research, production, and sales effort can be directed towards those products and services which ABC has identified as offering the highest sale margins. Again, you are able to understand how your profit is built and your change your priorities there. Performance management can be improved. Performance management should be enhanced due to the focus on selling the most profitable products and through the control of cost drivers. ABC can be used as the basis of budgeting and longer term forward planning of overhead cost. The more realistic budget overhead cost should improve the system of performance measurement. Okay, so we have learned four uses or implications or consequences of having ABC. So this was the end of the chapter. Let's see what's next. We are looking at one of the past papers where you will see how we can apply ABC costing. So let's see. I will first read out the question that is relatable to ABC. The question is how we would use ABC to determine the cost of different elements of the fleet management service using car servicing as an example. Please also explain the benefits of using ABC for this purpose. So here overall we have two things. First is how we use ABC to determine the cost, and second is please also explain the benefits of using ABC for this purpose. So for scenario, I'll give you a background. The pre-scene or the industry we are talking about right now is a car rental service for which we provide cars, and here we are talking about if we are going to use car servicing, so what would be the relevance of ABC. So I will quickly jump onto the reference material rather than reading this unseen right now, because we are trying to understand more about ABC rather than the previous paper. Okay, let's see the reference material. I'll give you some time to go through this. Let's take 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so let's see. We have given this table 1, details of car servicing. Car servicing, the description says the regularity of servicing depends upon the manufacturer's recommendations. Under warranty requirements and service intervals will be stated as mileage or time. The service will be carried out whichever comes first. For example, 20,000 kilometers or 12 months. So whichever comes first will go for the servicing. The description of activities. So remember we have learned about what are the activities that is relevant for ABC costing, and we need to see how these costs are relative to the cost drivers and how can these be utilized in ABC costing. Okay. The exterior of car will be checked for any scratches or damage. The interior of the car will be checked for any tears or damage. Seems like these both are almost the same. I mean, the cost driver would be the same for these two. The checks will be carried out on fuel, oil, other fluids, including the brake fluid and the water, mirrors, sound system, air conditioning, widescreen wipers, heating system, horn, doors, and windows. Digital diagnostic equipments will be used to access the car's onboard diagnostic system to identify any potential issues. Fluids will be topped up or replaced as required. Worn or faulty parts will be replaced. Mechanical adjustments will be made as required. Okay, so we have in total seven activities and we need to relate it with a question. First, they were asked how we would use ABC to determine the cost of different elements of the fleet system, fleet management service, using car servicing as an example. Please also explain the benefits of using ABC for this purpose. So let's see how can we answer this question. Okay, so first I'm going to write down two tasks that we have been given in ABC. Right, ABC we have as a full-fledged question, and then we need to understand that what has been asked. So first they say, how can we use ABC? And second says, benefits of ABC. Okay, so here, how we go about and answer the question. First, write down your keywords, anything that first comes in your mind in your planning stage, as we discussed in our sessions. But to give you a brief about what has been asked. So, first of all, you will start with the intro about what is ABC, then your cost pool, your cost driver, so that you can later relate it on with your task. Now comes with your first subtask. Here, you will be explaining how we can use. So are we talking about here process? Are we talking about the implications? Are we talking about the advantages? Obviously about the process. So you will need to explain the process step by step, maybe, or maybe the relevancy of it. You will explain how we are going to relate it, these activities with your cost drivers, how we will calculate it, give examples for the same. Okay, then you will have to explain that why is it relevant, why it need, how can it be relevant. And then the second part, you will need to explain the benefits. For the benefits, you will explain what are the benefits of ABC. That is straightforward given in your study text, but you also need to relate it with the company. For example, if you say that it has good accuracy, then then why you need to explain that why it has a good understanding, why it gives a better costing system. Always think about why and justify your answer, because without justification, without relating with the pre-scene, you will not be able to gain marks, and again that would be a disadvantage for you, because you are writing points, you are explaining everything, but if you are not relating it with the company, it might not give you that much marks which is required to pass the exam. Okay, so overall we have covered Okay, so we have understood how to write an answer, how we would use the ABC to determine the cost of different elements. As we are given these different type of activities, you need to understand. I'm not going in detail and giving you the answer that should be the cost driver, this should be your answer. No, everyone answer is going to be different. My answer would be different, your would be different. Correct. So you need to understand by your perspective, what do you think? If there is a exterior, if we are checking the exterior of a car, what should be the cost driver there, right? Okay. So I hope you like the session. And before ending the session, I would like to explain you one thing. If you like the session, we have OCS plans, OCS batches for which you can enroll. We have three types of batches. First is your mentor, where you will get every recording, every analysis, five set of reviews with mocks, set of important questions. We have a booklet for you which you can refer to as the important question which is most likely to come in your exam and repeated by the CIMA. One-on-one mentoring classes where the mentor will be provided to you who will be helping you throughout the motivation. You're reviewing your materials, understanding your weakness, and helping you throughout your planning. Set of case study questions where you will have approximately 20 to 50 questions based upon your pre-scene. Tips and tricks will be explained how you can answer your question, how to utilize your time well, improve your writing skills in OCS. Everything is depends upon your writing. If you are able to write well, that will give a good impression on the examiner as well. Prep plan for the exam, and it has been shown that mentor gives us the highest pass rate because you have someone who is reviewing, who is mentoring you throughout your planning phase, your preparation. Standard, it is almost the same from mentor, but one classes will not be provided. You will not be provided your case study questions, but important questions will be provided. Three mocks are given instead of five, and all the recordings, all the subjects notes, pre-scene analysis, industry analysis, and blueprint analysis is provided. And for the self-study, for student who wants to study themselves, who think that yeah, they have a good understanding upon case study, how to go about it, then they can also choose our self-study plan where you have your recordings, your notes, pre-scene analysis, industry and blueprint analysis, but one mock is provided only there and no set of important questions. All right. So if you want to contact us, that is in the description, you will find out the contact details. I hope you like the session and all the best for the exam. Bye.